Hello and welcome back to another Wild Wisdom Wellbeing guest slot with me, Robin Harris of Equenergy Wellbeing Naturally. And today I am super excited because my wonderful guest is Vicki Hill of Vicki Hill Women's Health and Fitness. So hi Vicki, it's great to have you here today.
Hi Robin, thank you. I'm excited to be here. As I said, I haven't done a live Facebook before or anything like that before, so it's good to be here.
A live newbie.
Yes. Yeah, I do lots of recordings, but I don't actually do live. So this is good for me, I think.
And it's a nice way to do it as well, I think, going on with somebody else where you're not the one person in the spotlight thinking, what am I going to say?
Yeah.
It's quite a jump to do those if you haven't done anything before. But yeah, just to introduce Vicki a little bit, you've been working in the field, I believe, since 2006 and working with women to support them in self-care and well-being and fitness, but more than just on diet and exercise, really looking at things from the inside out and self-care right through from pregnancy, postnatal, perimenopausal, postmenopausal. Correct me if I'm saying anything wrong here, but a wide range of really, I think it's such essential topics to cover, things that we don't maybe talk about very openly or maybe talk about at all, which we then kind of feel, am I the only one who experiences this? Am I the only one who's going through these hormonal issues, at whatever stage of your life you might be? I know that I'm currently going through perimenopause and it's kind of like, oh my goodness, I never knew that I should be expecting this, or could be expecting this, and this, because everybody's experience is similar but different. So maybe if you would start, Vicki, by telling us a little bit more about who is Vicki Hill and what brought you to doing the work that you do.
Yeah. So as you said, I started back in 2006 and I was your usual just personal trainer. I qualified as a personal trainer, but quite soon into it, all my friends at that time were having babies and having kids, and a lot of them saying, what can I do with exercising around having children? And so I then found who has been my guru and who I still learn and I still do all my training with is Jenny Burrell through Burrell Education. And that was an eye-opener for me to actually to start teaching and training with women. And I very quickly decided, well, actually, that's my area. So I then invested in myself and I invested in my own training. And so I carried on over the years. I did Buggy Fit. So that's a franchise. So I now do new mums, bums and tums classes. And it's funny, now I've got all the people who started with me from, 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, and now doing my perimenopausal stuff. So a lot of them have stayed with me. And I've naturally progressed over the years. I then became a holistic core restore coach. So I'm not your usual personal trainer in any way at all. In fact, I don't really call myself a personal trainer at all, because it's not all about the weight and how to lose the weight. It's all encompassing everything. Weight to me is about, well, what's the whole picture? What is your lifestyle? And many people, it's just trying women to understand that you have to look at everything. It's not just about what you eat and what you do exercise wise. You've got to look at everything, what your stress levels, what's your sleep like. And so I've loved over the years progressing and going deeper and deeper into women's health issues. I very much work on pelvic health, pelvic floor, pelvic health, diastases, which is when the linea alba, the midline, doesn't sort of come back properly and people can get that very soft midline. So I love doing it. Sometimes it's really quite challenging because I get some quite difficult cases where, they need a lot of work, but it's also trying to teach women, actually, you've got to slow down. It's about everything, and you have got to put yourself first. And the biggest sort of thing I say also is that, you get your car sorted, but how about yourself? It is about, you've got to look after yourself. And as we age, I think people maybe slow down a bit and get more time to suddenly start thinking about themselves. But I know, postnatally, certainly, the last thing they're doing is thinking about themselves. And so a big thing of everything I'm doing is to try and just encourage women just to take tiny snippets of time. You know, you don't need to take half an hour here or an hour here. Literally a couple of minutes, just close your eyes, stop, and then carry on. You know, it's that, those little things. I'm just trying to teach people it's the little things that you can do to help yourself.
It is. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. And partly our hormones at that particular point in our lives, the postnatal, are helping us to focus on this new little life. And that's how it's meant to be. But yes, taking those, even just close your eyes, take a breath, right, move on. Because in taking that breath, you've helped to reset yourself a little bit. You've maybe given yourself a bit more clarity. You've come off of that hamster wheel for a second. And it really, you know, you say it, just go and take a breath. And the person's probably thinking, but what difference is that going to make? 1 second out of my life. But it's amazing, isn't it? How much of a difference these little things can really have in our lives. And I've got a friend who says, never underestimate the little things. And I think that's such a valuable message.
Totally true. Yeah. And breathing, you know, it's a big thing that I teach, and it can take me ages to teach people to breathe properly. But I teach it for pelvic health. So the breath work. But again, it's, you know, it's also part of your down training and relaxation. So I think people sort of laugh initially when they first, you know, hear about me talking about breathing. But it's just, I know we all breathe, but actually how much do you focus on your breath, you know, and just stopping and actually focusing on it and slowing down. It's so important.
And so often we've learnt bad habits, shall we say, in our breathing. So we don't, shoulders up around our ears somewhere, breathing with this part of the chest, which actually has the effect of causing us to feel more and more into anxiety and panic versus, right, I'm going to really just observe, maybe not change initially, but just observe how I'm breathing. And that can in itself change how we breathe. And looking at
it's so, you know, what I try to get people right. What are you feeling? It's very much like get into your body, you know, maybe close your eyes. And when I'm working with women, it's very much, well, what are you actually feeling? Can you feel anything? You might not feel anything, but it's about awareness, and it's raising women's awareness of, as again, that little thing about, well, what's happening? Where are you feeling the breath? Can you feel? Do you feel any movement in your rib cage? And very often the whole neurotransmitters, and it's about getting feedback and getting hands-on. You might feel something internally, you might not. So to have hands-on, so for example, just hands-on and feel the breath and feel getting feedback is really useful. And this little palpating, little tap, tap, tap to get the whole neuro connection kicking through. It's really important. Yeah.
And I love that concept of educating ourselves. How does my body feel? And I talk about building like a vocabulary, a kind of a body vocabulary. This is why my body feels stress. When I feel this in my body, it's saying this is stress. This is how I feel. This is what I'm experiencing at the moment. And like you say, initially, we might not feel that at all, or we might feel it on a very low level. But the more we listen, the more we tune in, the more attuned we become. And it's like the dial on, well, I don't know that radios have those anymore, do they, where you tune in on the dial. But tuning into, it's like tuning into that frequency, tuning into that channel so that I can hear it more and more clearly, and the message maybe amplifies slightly. You hope it doesn't get too strong and overwhelming, but it gets to the point where, I can really sense that with great clarity, and I know what it's telling me. I understand that vocabulary. And the more our body feels listened to, the more, the less it feels it has to shout. We can pick it up when the body's still whispering, there's a little thing, right? I'm going to go and attend to that thing, whatever it might be. But equally, I love the fact that when we listen to our bodies, we know what stress feels like, but we also know what good feels like. Because these are so individual, aren't they?
Oh, everyone. Yeah. I mean, I'd say everyone is different. Everyone is different, and people react differently. And, you know, and most people, I don't know, last year has been an education, certainly for me and maybe for you, in that I've totally changed. Even for me, I've always been a runner. I've always been full on. And then I sort of got an injury. But actually, and I used to just jump on the bike and cycle everywhere. Now I walk, and I love walking. I don't have earphones in. I listen to the birds, and, you know, they're talking more and more about mindfulness, but actually It's amazing. And I've had anxiety, you know, with this. I'm perimenopausal and menopausal. So I've suffered badly from anxiety, and especially this last year. But I can't say how much just actually slowing down and taking notice of things has helped so much. And I think people are maybe getting back to that rushing, and I'm getting emails like, oh, sorry, haven't made this, haven't made that class, or, oh, it's so much harder to sort of commit to doing my homework, you know, just breathing or stopping and listening to the body, because I'm doing so much more again. And it's just, okay, remember what you did last year, and just say, take out a little time here and there, because I do think we have got to look at some positives from last year. And a lot of people actually have slowed down a bit. And I think that's the problem with us as, you know, a nation or whatever woman. We've got kids to sort out, you've got school, you've got work, you've got parents maybe, and we're here, there, everywhere. And we're back to doing that again, in that, you know, don't let those little habits that you started. It's really important more than ever now we're coming out of all the lockdown stuff, to try and look back and say, no, I really enjoyed that in lockdown. That actually did me good. And to go back and make time to do it. You know, again, I only need a few minutes or just say, no, I'm going to go and do my walk in the morning. I'm still going to go and do it. You know, everything else can still wait. I did it last year. I can carry on doing it. And I think that's important.
Absolutely. And those good habits, don't let them go. And I think I heard so many people towards the beginning of lockdown, or middle, when we were starting to reflect, and gosh, I hadn't realized how exhausted I was, how stressed I was, how busy I was. And there is a thing about busy being the new normal. And that's what we all say. How are you? I'm busy.
Busy, yeah.
And it's almost like a badge that we wear sometimes, because there is a certain amount of kudos in being busy, or a certain amount of, well done. You're doing really well if you're busy. And that doesn't set up a very good habit, I think, sometimes. But also, you know, people were saying how busy they were, and then how stopping at the initial lockdown, I can really feel a difference, and it's so much better. I've been able to rest. I've been able to take the time for the little things. But it's so easy then when the world shifted to being online, because for a start, you don't have to travel. If you go to meetings or you go to sessions or whatever in your day, there's no, right, I need to move from this thing to this thing. I'm just sitting in my chair. I go from click to click. And it's then just another click to go to Facebook and social media. And that, as we all know, can just while away the hours so easily. And then, oh, I've missed my class, or I've missed my run, I've missed my walk, I've missed my yoga, whatever it is. So again, I think it is just like you say, making that ring fence time. That is my time. And to give ourselves permission to take that time, even though things are changing all the time, we can still have that as a commitment to ourselves. But as I always say, I think that self-care is not self-care. It's certainly not selfish, because it's when we care for ourselves, we are caring for those around us, because we're giving them permission. No, it's okay. You can take this time for yourself. You can give yourself focus. You can give yourself the care that you need to heal and to build, rebuild, restore, recharge, all of these wonderful things.
But picking up on that, you see, that's also very often, you know, the women are doing, as I said, you know, from my experience and working with the women, they're having to organize this. And if they're not self-cared, if they're not looked after themselves, they're going to get run down and more run down and more ill. And then the rest of the family then will still have these high expectations. Well, I need you to do this, but actually they're not well, and they're just getting more and more run down. So the family need you to be, as you know, the woman to be well and strong and be able to do things. So it is you and your whole family you're benefiting. You know, that's, you know, that is, it's you know, so many women just carry on, and their adrenals get fatigued and they get exhausted. They're constantly tired and then they get ratty, and then the family members, you're ratty, you know, and it's just, well, I think you've got every right to. You've got to just, take yourself away, stop. And the family need to allow them and let them, you know. My postnatal mums, you know, many of them don't. I give them all Epsom salts in one of the weeks. It's on self-care in my Holistic Core Restore course. So we do, it's about, this week your homework is actually having a bath, some Epsom salt bath, you know, most of the time. I say lock that door. And or some people, one woman one time, she said, right, I've put it in the diary to husband so he knows I'm having a bath on this night and no disturbances. Often you have to do that, and they don't, and very often they don't put their self-care, and then they wonder why they're so exhausted, and the family are just, there's issues or stuff because they just can't, they're just exhausted, and they need to realize, women need to realize that it's okay to stop, and you need to, for the benefit of your whole family, as well.
And it's then addressing, well, what's stopping me? Is it guilt? Because so often that is what gets in the way. But also when you are running around sorting everybody else's life out, they become dependent, versus take some time out for yourself and delegate some stuff, or even just role model that, yeah, it's okay. I can take time for myself. You can take time for yourself too. While I'm having my bath, you can be doing your thing. Or while I'm having my bath, you can be helping with dinner or preparing some laundry, or, as the kids grow older, obviously it needs to be age.
But that's exactly, but how many people still delegate and tell their kids, right? I mean, I grew up and we had a little rota, but my mum was working full time. Dad was working. So the four of us kids, we had a duty dog. How many families now do people, I don't know. I mean, from my experience, all my friends with the older kids, it's just, well, how many of you get your kids to do their own washing? Why are you doing their washing? They're old enough to put the washing machine on. Why should you be doing it? Why should you be doing all the, maybe doing all the cooking or something? Give kids responsibility to go and do little things. It's, we grew up, had to do the ironing, had to help with the ironing. We all did. And I don't know whether many people do that. And it's just, well, why are you doing everything? As you said, delegate to them, let them go and do a few things.
And to me, that's kind of what growing up in a family, well, it's my experience. So that is my kind of norm, but I see it as that is your learning ground. So when you leave home, how do you know how to do your own washing, cook your own meals, wash up, clean? All of these things. And there was just the two of us, me and my brother, and he learned to sew because my mum was working and he had a button, and the button wasn't being sewn on because my mum worked full-time plus did overtime as well because she was working in hospital and they had to do on call. And so my brother learned to sew because he needed his button back on his shirt or whatever it was, and he put it on himself. But now he's really good. He can do all of he's a good cook. Part of the time we just let him do the cooking anyway because he got really into Delia Smith. I mean, this has gone back a few years.
Yes.
So he learned all of these skills, and I learned a lot of what I know because I got to do it at home. I got to do budgeting because I had an allowance when I got to being a teenager. So I learned about, well, you pay so and so for living in a place, and you pay this for that, and you buy food, and how do you keep it all so that you haven't got a month left at the end of your money, and all of these valuable lessons that I feel are part of a good growing up, that you're then ready, right, when I go out into the world, I know how to do these things. I know what a bill is and how to pay it, and I know how to wash my clothes and iron my clothes. Not that I necessarily do an awful lot of that now. I buy a lot of don't need to irons.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I hate ironing now. I never do ironing now.
But even just learn how to do it. How do you save your time? If you are a busy person, how do you ring fence your time and allocate your time? All of these things.
Some people, however, that's what they enjoy, and that's why I say everything's so individual, because for some people, actually ironing your kids and doing your kids' washing or whatever, actually it's just, is it stressing you out? It's weighing up what's right for you. Because for some people, no, I really enjoy that. Same, I might say to my mums, do you ever get out and go and have just a breather on your own? Well, I like going out with the family. And so you say, that's fine. It's so long as it's relaxing. And the same with if you do your kids' washing or ironing and stuff, it's it's so individual and everyone is different. And if you find that relaxing and enjoyable, my mum loves ironing, you know, now she's older, she still does all her ironing, she loves it, whereas I never iron now. Maybe ironing when I was younger has put me off, but you know, so for some people it might be relaxing, and they do feel, and maybe a sense of purpose, and they need that. So everyone is different, but it's each individual thinking, well, what actually does stress me out? Does it stress me out? Think I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do that, da, 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 da. And it's okay, take what is stressing you out and saying, how can you change that? It's that part of your life that think, oh, I really hate doing that. Okay, so how can you look at it, and how can you share that responsibility or change what you're doing in that response, you know, around that area?
And even knowing that that is an option. That you can look at other ways of doing things. If there's something that you hate, yeah, you can change something about it that makes it less onerous.
And same with my exercise, you know, and I've got a menopause course that I run, and you know, a big thing is, I've been told I should be doing weights when I'm older, and you know, okay, yes, for bone density, absolutely, it's really important, but it could be body weight, it can be impact in that way. And it's about, well, again, it's very individual. What are you? And if you hate, you know, I should start running. No, if you don't want to run and you don't like running, why are you going to do it? Because you're going to hate the run. You're going to help building it up. And you might in the end like it, yes. However, if you just know it's just something you're not going to enjoy, you should never feel that pressure of having to do something just because it should be done. There's other options. There's other things. Dance, you know, I say to a lot of women, go and dance. Put the music on loud, get your heart rate up, and that's a bit of impact exercise, you know. And again, it's about, well, looking at how and what you enjoy. It's more important about what's going to make you smile, what's going to make you, you know, feel you're enjoying something, but as well as it's beneficial for you as well, you know. And I think sometimes women feel too much pressure that I should. And it's trying not to, just saying, I would like to, I'd like to try this. I'd like to take it up. Let's give it a go.
I'd like to, I choose to, I get to. And I'm very fortunate that my mum, I think I might still have been living at home, said, take all those shoulds and have tos and ought tos out of your vocabulary. Because there's no such thing really. Yes, there's a lot of external pressure, but that's somebody else's perspective. It's not ours. So we don't have to follow it. There's no rule that say you have to run. And certainly that wouldn't work for me. I prefer things that either they have music involved, so aerobics or dance, something like that, or that it has a purpose. So for me, my exercise now is just looking after the 2 horses that we have here. And we live on a hill, so I wheel a barrow twice a day, up and down the hill. And then when I'm up there, I'm wheeling a barrow around and around, collecting up poo. And if it's wet, it's very heavy. And then I wheel it up onto the poo pile. So for me, it has a purpose. It's enjoyable. It gets me outside into nature. It ticks all of my boxes. So that's what I recommend to people. Find something that ticks your boxes, that it's fun, that if you like to do exercise with a group, that you've got other people with you there. Because I certainly find that if it's dance or something, it really keeps you going, and
you can have a laugh together and stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So whatever you're looking, you know, whatever you want to do in terms of exercise, make sure that it ticks all your boxes, and give lots of things a try. Because at different times of the month and at different times in your life, you might want to do even different times of the year. If it's bitterly cold, you might not want to do something that's too outside. So find something that works for you at that time of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something I sort of try and say to people all the time. You know, it's got to be enjoyable, because then you'll want to go back and do it. Otherwise, little routines won't be, you know, you won't start building into your part of your everyday life. And it is about trying to move, you know, movement, and just about moving rather than just sitting all the time. Just move, you know. People underestimate walking. Walking's, you know, it's great. And I think a lot more people actually over lockdown. And if people were one of those people who did it in lockdown, don't do it now, why? Come on, just think, okay, try and sort of squeeze it in and think I'll walk or get out of the car, park a bit nearer or further or from where you're going, and walk a bit more. But it is just, it's movement. It's moving. That's one of the most important things.
Yeah, and the great thing about walking, if you're doing it outdoors, you can have natural light, which helps to reset your biorhythms, maybe help you to sleep better. And if we can find an exercise that we enjoy, that helps to reduce our stress, that helps to reset those biorhythms and all of these things, then the whole menopausal thing about belly fat and so on, it can help with that anyway, even if it isn't the weightlifting or the running or whatever people are saying we need to do to shift certain areas of that. But just the fact that you've reduced your stress, because you talked about that earlier, how important it is, and how that actually, a lot of people maybe aren't aware of how much of an impact stress has on those stubborn little bits that are hard to shift.
And people, if I get, people email me and I want a PT, I want to do PT and I want to lose weight and I've got this ring around my belly now and stuff, and I say, well, I sort of say, well, what's your stress? One of the first questions I would ask, what's your stress levels? What's happening in your life? Because most of the time it's basically, especially the hormones now, and it's all about cortisol and increased cortisol levels and all around the hormones, and you're not able to just fight off this the fat. Basically now you can't burn it off so easily, so it is looking at, well, what's going on stress wise, and I get so many people saying, well, I'm still running for the same as I'm eating the same, I'm running the same, and yet I've still got this weight. But you can't do the same in your 30s as your 50s, 40s, late 40s, 50s. You have got to change things. And if you're a runner, and your body's used to running, okay. However, sometimes you're not shifting the weight now, then you've got to readjust that running, because you could just be running all that time and that's more cortisol. You're stressing your body for an hour of constant running, and that could be much more stressful on the body than doing a 20-minute bam bam, short sharp, wham bam, and changing. A lot, you've got to weigh it up, because again, it's very individual. But someone, it's their downtime, so great, but go and have your, maybe once a week, do a lovely long downtime run, and it's mental health. So many people I have and runners, it's their downtime, it's their time. So totally, I'm not saying change that, but if your emphasis is about, well, what's happening with the weight and you're not losing weight and it's affecting you, want to lose weight, then you do have to say, okay, I'll do one long run, but maybe I'll change my other runs to being only 20 minutes, 15 minutes in that, a quick warm up, quick cool down. And then you've got 10 minutes, 15 minutes of intervals, short, sharp, or include some, if pelvic floor, obviously it's always for me, pelvic floor is okay, you haven't got diastasis, anything like that, then you can do burpees, squat jumps, you add in a bit of impact in that run, so you mix it up a bit, and that will be a much more beneficial way of sort of, for one, not putting so much stress through the body for so long, and it'll be, your body is then burning the fat for longer over the day, rather than there in that session. It's interval. A lot of people have heard about the interval sessions, interval training and high intensity stuff like that. But again, it's got to be at your level. And if, suddenly having been injured and not done anything for a long time, the worst thing you can go and do is go and do a 15-minute full-on session, because your body's just used it, and then you'll just go again, too much stress, even 15 minutes, because you need to gradually get back in. Or even power walk. You can power walk easy. You don't have to be a runner. Again, it's looking at what your exercise is, on and off, on, off, on, off. Dance like mad and boogie, and then recover for a few minutes and then go again. It's mixing it up that way and getting your heart rate up for a shorter length of time. Easy, get up again, and then easy again. And that is going to help weight. And it's just less stress on the body, less cortisol going through the body. So that is why, yes, you do have to change what you're doing from your 30s, maybe. Not everyone. Again, some people's got high metabolism and they don't put any weight on at all. So it's not everyone. You know, it's very, again, we're back to the individual again. It's very individual. It's about you, and you can't do the same as what your best friend might do. You know, you've different bodies, different metabolisms. It's all different. So you should never compare to anyone else.
Absolutely. It's only really comparing ourselves to ourselves, isn't it? And to see, am I more stressed or less stressed? Right, which way do I want to go? Is this benefiting me? Is it not? Okay, which way do I want to go? And and I think it's as well about listening to the body. That's always a very important thing to me. Listen to your body, and how does it feel? So does it feel like this is working, or does it not? Am I feeling more stressed? Am I feeling, oh no, I've got to do that session later? Or
does it make you feel, oh, that was brilliant, I love that, made me feel great?
Exactly. Yeah. So whatever it is that's doing that, making you feel, oh, I'm really looking forward to this. It feels exciting. It feels enjoyable. It feels fun. Do more of that and less of the stuff that doesn't feel so good.
Yeah. And it is you around your mental health and what's, you know, at the time, if that's what you need, then do what you need. You know, it is very much, it's about that, but just be wary of it's up against my weight or mental health. And then it's a vicious circle because you want to relax your head and your brain. So you go running. However, that's not necessarily going to be helping. You know, if you're just plodding along for an hour, that might not be so beneficial for your weight. So, but again, it just depends on the individual.
It does.
It's difficult because it's never that simple. You know, it is, you have got to take account of what's happening in your head and you know, brain and actually, you know, that might help you sleep. You know, you might find on your big exercise days that actually helps your sleep. So it is playing around and finding what works, you know, best for you. And, you know, sleep's really important. And if you're not a good sleeper, you then today you've got this pressure. Oh, if you don't sleep, you can get this. Stop listening to all of that because that makes you sleep even less. So if you find your exercise really helps you sleep, then, you know, keep it going, but also look at other areas of, you know, as you mentioned, your body rhythms and your circadian rhythm. If you actually can get out without sunglasses on, within 2 hours of waking and going outside for, you know, just be outside. It doesn't have to be walking, be in the garden, whatever, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour in the morning. That can, if you do it, but you have to do it regularly, that can start helping sleep. So there are little ways to, you know, to start helping you sleep without stressing and thinking, oh, I'm not a good sleeper and, you know, I'm making things worse. So there's little things to just try. And if exercise is one way, you know, some people find, you know, I find if I haven't had a busy day, or not busy, but I haven't done something and moved quite a lot, my sleep, I'm not tired when I go to bed. So I know that I sleep much better on my work days when I'm here, and then I've got to go there and stuff. And so you've got to look at, okay, what's best for me, you know, every day different.
And as well, just like you were saying about playing with it, it's giving ourselves permission that I can play, I can experiment, I can try different things, I can mix it up, and I can think, ooh, I'll give this a go. Then there's no harm in doing that. And if you discover it doesn't work, that's fine. You can tick that off the list, certainly off the list for now, because you never know, it might come back around. But yeah, I think it's very much about having fun with it. I think it's taking these things more lightly because, again, it reduces our stress load, just giving ourselves permission, take that breath. Right, I'm going to play with this today. I'm going to see how it goes. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. I know I can go back to my usual routine, or I can try something else.
And it's also looking at, well, actually, what is my week like? What is my day? Am I trying to squeeze it in here? Am I putting more pressure on myself by doing the exercise because I should? And, you know, and I've got to try and squeeze it in. When am I going to squeeze it in? You know, again, it's just, well, if you've got a really busy day and it's full on and you're here, there and everywhere, just accept, I can't do it today. I'm just going to make things worse. You know, I'll exhaust myself even more. I might get up if I give myself that break, get to bed earlier. Okay, maybe I'll get up that bit earlier and do something in the morning, you know, and you're knowing that 5 minutes is better than nothing, you know, of just doing something. Ooh, you know, it is weighing up again, we're back to the I should, because I haven't done enough this week. But so long as you do something during the week, and it's just moving, back to the moving as well, and it is just weighing up what is it better or worse to actually go and do that bit of exercise? Are you in the long run going to make you more tired, more exhausted? You have got to weigh up what external pressures and stresses you've got going on, and whether your exercise will make that worse or better. So it is weighing all of that up.
And again, for me, that's listening into the body. What does my body want to do today? If I'm so tired and stressed and pressured and my day is so busy already, do I want to add to that? Or do I maybe just want to stretch or take a 5-minute walk just to, bring things down at the end of the day? Just to be like, I talk about bookends on the end of our day sometimes, because that's something that we may have lost during lockdown. That kind of idea of, this is the start of my workday, this is the end of my workday, right? The rest of the day is my own. I can just chill, or I can do my own thing. I'm no longer on the boss's time, kind of thing. So that there is that change, and we can start just to wind down. But if we don't have that, if we're home-based and we're on a computer all day long, and in the evening we're still watching a screen, that as well can make our sleep more difficult, because of the blue light, the backlight that just tells our body, actually, we're still awake, it's still daytime.
Yeah, and what I said to a client last week, I said, you can work 24 hours a day. You're always going to have emails to answer and whatever. And what I do is I put on my out of office, and it's just constantly on, and it says, I can't always get back to you, but we will get back to you. I'm out of the office, I'm working, whatever. And I think for me, that just means at least I've acknowledged, people have seen I can't get back straight away. And people need to realize you can't, and you're not expected to get back every way. I know there's always going to be certain emails that you do have to respond to, but, I just say, don't open that. You've finished at this time. You're not going back. And the problem is, you've got it on your phone. Oh, I see an email on my phone. And it's about teaching yourself to say, no, my emails will be responding to say, I'm out of the office now. I'll be back. I'll get back. And even if it means you then, and especially if people have got problems with sleep, and they wonder why when they're still on their computer, they've done the kids, think, right, I'll get back to work once I've done the kids. And some people are better at working later. Some people are. However, they're still then getting up at 6 the next morning because they've got to start work at 6. Their time slot for sleep has got even smaller. So even if you can say, okay, I'm finishing work at this time, do the kids, I'm not going to put the computer back on, but I will get up earlier. And it's so much easier at the moment. And then those first few hours of sleep are your most important. That's generally when you get your deep sleep. And at least, if you can get those couple of hours in, and even going to bed at 10 and getting up at 5 or 6, you'll still get a good 5, 6, 7 hours in if you can train yourself to do that. But of course, as I'm saying, it depends if you've got deadlines and everything like that, and it depends on your job. But as a general, if you could just say, you know what, no, it can wait till tomorrow. But it's training and teaching yourself and saying to yourself, it can wait till tomorrow. But again, I don't know what everyone's jobs are.
Yeah,
you can do that. The amount of times I think, oh, should I just go? Nope, I'm going to close this down now, and go and do something else.
And it's that question of, will it matter if I haven't answered it in today's emails, if it doesn't get answered until tomorrow, and if they've sent it through at 5 minutes to 5 and I'm due to finish at 5, is it going to matter? Are they expecting me to answer it today? Unless it says urgent answer now in the title of the email, then chances are it'll be fine to answer it tomorrow.
And you'll always have the workaholics who do work till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night and sending emails at that time of night. So you've just got to say, that's them. That's how they work. I'm not going to make a difference now. I can do it in the morning.
And they may be people whose brain just functions that way. They are night owls. I am not.
No.
I am an early bird. I am a lark. I'm up early. I'm doing stuff from early hours. By the time it gets to evening, my brain doesn't function. So there's no point in me answering the email probably, because it won't be as lucid as it was as it would be if I held it until the next day. And it's just giving ourselves permission to know that I am me. They are them. If they work better at night, fine. They can do their emailing at that time. But it's also about the messages that we put out, isn't it? If I am here, accessible at all times, and I will answer your email at all times, they will email me at all times. Whereas if I say, right, I work this hour to this hour, then that's when you can expect an answer from me. If I don't get the email, within half an hour of the end of my day, I might not get back to you until tomorrow, but I will get back to you.
Yeah.
It's like you say in your out of office, we could have the out of office just to be at the ends of our days. It doesn't have to be through the day, but just so it is nice to get that acknowledgement. Oh, they've had my email and they're going to reply tomorrow. That's fine. Not a problem.
And then you feel better that you've at least let people know that you're not just ignoring them. And then sometimes if I, for my job, I'm not always on the laptop. So I will be off here, classes, and I've got Harriet. I've got someone who does stuff for me. However, it just makes me feel better knowing that they've received that. But then if I still haven't got back, I've gone a whole day and I haven't been able to, because I've now got more and more emails that I need to respond to, I will just drop a line and say, I am going to follow up. I promise I will follow up, but I'm just catching up and whatever. And I just think a little thing like that, it's just, I am going to follow you up. I will be back in touch with you. Just be patient. I hope you just understand that I am aware of you. But I can do that in my job. And again, it's just, well, can everyone do that in their job? So I don't know, but it is, it is just another way of looking to see, to take some pressure off you, that you will get back to them. Don't feel more pressure. I've got to get back to them. I've got to get back to them. If you just drop them a line saying, really busy, I will respond. I'm just catching up or something like that. It's playing around and just seeing what your barriers are and how far, what you can and can't do.
Absolutely. And anything, like you say, that I'll just send you a quick message so that I then don't need to stress about it. And I do the same with lists. So if I'm going to bed and I suddenly, I have this thing to do tomorrow that I didn't get done today, I write it down, because then, it's there. I won't forget it now. I won't lie awake all night thinking, I must remember, or I didn't do it. It's there. It's waiting for me in the morning. I know it's not going anywhere and I'll deal with it. And it's also giving ourselves permission to just do that. To not.
Yeah, a lot of people say you should have a little pad by your bed and just if suddenly something, quickly just write that down so I'll remember that tomorrow.
Yeah. And then it gets it off the worry list and onto the to-do list.
I won't remember to do it in the morning. I won't remember. I must remember. It's that constant. And then you're never going to go to sleep because you're constantly thinking about it.
And you're stressing, you're winding yourself further and further up. At least that's how I respond to things like that. So I find that for me, it works. But it's finding the things, again, going back to the individual, it's finding the things that work for you, that give you that permission, that help you just, I've put it down now. I can pick it back up as and when is appropriate for me.
Yeah, definitely.
And when you talk about education and supporting people and that it's building these things from within, I think that's so much a part of it all. And when people are struggling, I think that's where people like you come in, because you can turn to a coach, a therapist, or somebody who does this work and say, help me, I need some ideas, or I need a structure, or whatever it might be.
And often they know, but they need reinforcing, and I will just sometimes just reinforce what they already know. A lot of my work, I do assessments and I check people and but especially talking around menopause, we talk what's happening in their life, how can we change these little things, and it's just often a lot of what I do now is just why I say I'm not your usual PT. Yes, we'll look at what they need exercise wise, but as I said, it's the whole picture. And if I can help them in just little ways and little things, even from hydration, okay, carry it, have a pint, have your pint glass always on your desk, or carry. It's just little things which everyone always says I know, but I don't do, and they just need someone who they're paying to see just to say, right, this is what you need, this is what you need, this is what you need. And it's just reinforcing a lot of what we already know. But education to me is just, read up on things. I've got all my menopause, when I first started learning on menopause stuff, and I just got the books and I read and I looked up Menopause Society, and it's about, the more you know, the more you're preparing for things, and oh, it could be this, yes, or what can I do about it? Education, and just read up on things, and you're just learning and helping yourself so much more by actually learning about things. I thought, oh, maybe I could be perimenopausal, and then you read, yeah, I've got that, oh, and maybe I could try this and try that, oh yeah, and it's reading up what you can do about it.
Though it's often nice to just see somebody and for them to say, what you need to do is drink more fluids and do this kind of exercise in this way and breathe from here, and to give yourself permission to take a breath. All of these things are really important. And I've just been sitting here thinking, but they're so small, they're not going to have an impact. But then somebody who knows through experience tells me, actually, they will have a big impact. Just do them consistently and you'll see. And it's kind of that reassurance. It's permission to do that for myself. It's reinforcing that I knew I can trust my body, that it was actually giving me a little nudge to go that way. And also, I really like, sometimes I just don't feel I have the time to read because there's so much out there. I don't even know where to go to start. So it's nice to have somebody to go, right, this is how I'm feeling. Can you give me a signpost? Where do I start on all of this? What book would you recommend?
And I think the thing with the menopause is so overwhelming. It's but I could have too little estrogen, but I could have too much estrogen. It could be that. It could be that. That's the problem. And the menopause is such a vast. It is quite a difficult thing to try and explain and to understand. Well, if I haven't really got those symptoms, have I got it? Haven't I got it? It's not easy to actually understand. And if you don't really know much about estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of that, it's just, whoa, what on earth's going on? And sometimes you just want a little bit of clarification and just simple explanation. And there's a lot out there, which, as you say, it's just really in depth and it's too much. But it's just that little basic stuff, the simple information that is needed to be put out there and explained. And that generally is all people need to know. Okay, so this is, and the same with pelvic floor work and the breathing, and I explain how and why you need to breathe properly for the whole pelvic health and the whole pelvic connection and stuff. And it's all, again, it's just a few pointers to know why and what to do and how to just start small and just learn little bits and understand and listen to little bits. That's the important thing.
I was just about to say that, how important it is just to lay some foundations, just to take it one step at a time. You don't have to do it all in one go right now. It's about, and I think that's where somebody like yourself is great, because you can just say, right, start with this. Just let's get this bit. And then once you've got that bit, because it's a little bit, it won't take you long. Once you've got that bit, then we can look if you want to go further. And then we can add this bit, and then we can add this bit. And before you know it, you'll be all the way down here. You'll have got to this point on your journey, and you will already be feeling so much better. Versus I'm sitting there just with feeling totally overwhelmed and I don't know where to start, so I don't start.
Yeah. And that's, and often I'll say to them, I won't necessarily be able to, I might not be the right person for you, but I listen and whatever. And then it's really useful to have, I've got connections and who, okay, I think actually you'd be better off seeing this person. They'll be able to work better with you. Then you could come back to me if you're ready to come back to me then. But it's that feeling of, I don't know where to start. So it's okay. Well, I can go through the basics with you and I can advise, try this and try that and see this person, that person. And it's often you have to, unfortunately, you have got to often you've got to pay out for the different services or what's right for you. And back to sort of, well, you pay for your car, and it is about investing in yourself, you know, and it's very easy for me to say because it's my job, and you know, we've probably all got money and able to pay privately, you know, but unfortunately the problem is we haven't got often enough system set up to support enough people. And I would love to say I'll give free sessions all the time, but it's my living. But it is about women just knowing that just even one session can lead you in the right direction with people, you know, who can help with pelvic floor. You know, I say to people all the time, go and see a women's health physio specialist. And I've got some amazing specialists that I send people to, and I advise, you know, it's not just for now, it's for when you're getting older. It's you need to look after your pelvic health, you know, it's really important. And the NHS, you'll be waiting. Unfortunately, they're so busy, and the waiting lists are, you know, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. And that's the problem. And I just think if you can just save some money to get yourself and prioritize yourself, it is important.
And I think we talk about things being expensive, but really it's more a question of where our priorities are. And we've been taught not to put ourselves as a priority. So there's so much more to it, I think, when you invest. And that's what it really is. It's an investment, because your health being the best wealth. When you invest, you get so much more than just the thing that you're paying for, because you get the fact that I'm taking care of myself, the fact that I've made a step forward, all of these different things. So you're benefiting yourself on so many levels that it really is worth taking that first step and then seeing where it leads you. And I think that's a really...
Yeah, and also it's just, you can go round and round in circles. What is wrong with me, and have this blood test done, that blood test done, and then actually all you needed is you just need to see the right person, and again that could be, that's all you need, you know, that little bit of, oh, that's it, that's what I needed. That's, you know, it's sort of that attitude that you can keep trying and until you actually say, right, I've got to finally do something now. Because so many people just put up with what they've got, and they think it's normal. It's normal, you know, leaking when you're running. It's not. A lot of people do it, and you shouldn't be doing. You know, you're not going to help yourself in the long run. And a lot of people don't take action because they just think things are normal that's happening to them. But actually, no. It's, you know, you're not getting support. Maybe you're not getting the, you know, for example, for postnatal mums, they're now no longer getting GP checks. It's on the telephone, and no one's checking what's happening to the pelvic floor, what's happened to their tummy. And it's just getting harder and harder. And I'm not in any way, gosh, I think the GPs are amazing, but it's just very hard to get to see GPs now. And I think the big thing at the moment with menopause is, you know, the GPs are failing us. But I think it's their training. It's not them, it's their training. And I think that does need to be put out there a bit more, that, you know, they're just not being trained in our women's issues enough. And I feel
they are general practitioners.
Yeah, exactly. And I really feel for them, because I think they're getting quite a lot of stick, I do think, and especially over the menopause. And I've had my bad experience with my AGP, you know, and I think a lot of people have. But it's only now it's being recognised and talked about is, okay, things are now going to start getting done. But I think it's the fact that the training, in their GP training, they're not, you know, women are 50% of the population. These women's issues should be up there in training, and they don't even get any training in the women's issues.
Or even training, what they need, being a general practitioner, is training that if somebody comes to you with something that looks like it could be a women's issue, signpost them to a specialist.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to refer to anyone likes of me. No, it's got to, but then they're in the waiting list to see.
I know.
Or practices need to, you know, they all need to have their specialist areas, maybe. Then I don't know.
Or
we're
even,
going into an area which
I know, I was going to say something else, which I'm sure the NHS
I feel for the GPs. I do feel for them because I do think they're getting, they're getting a hard, because menopause is finally being talked about. I do think they're having a bit of a hard time. But I do think, they need to know if this is now a big issue. Again, it's, well, get my books out. Okay. And I think the problem is a lot of women early 40s could be going through premature menopause, and they're not. And I've got people on my course, and nothing was acknowledged. And they're the ones who actually do need, for their bone density and their heart health, they do actually need to have some HRT if they're able to, until the age of 51. They need to actually, if you have early menopause, you need that for when you're later, for your older. You've got to look after your bones and heart health.
And I think certainly it's, if you start to experience some issues that you're not sure what's going on, it's so worth asking, finding somebody, and this is where the idea of finding the perfect fit. So take a look, see who you resonate with, talk to a few people, find the right fit for you.
Yeah, talking, yeah.
But then invest in yourself. So the earlier we can do these things, in a sense, the better, because it's, once you get further down the line and the problem maybe has increased, it's going to take so much, potentially longer, potentially more money to sort it, to help you get back to where you want to be. The earlier you can start to address these things or prepare and take the preventative route, even better, because you're just looking after yourself, and then you feel better about yourself. And it has so many wide-ranging impacts if you do these things, that your life just holistically, literally, becomes so much smoother.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a blog, I think. I wrote a blog about actually one thing everyone can do, even from girls, is start to monitor what your periods are what's your monthly cycle. And the more you actually understand and know, and you begin to think, oh, I know when I ovulate. Am I ovulating? Am I not? The more, again, getting in touch with your body, that can really, I can't underestimate this. The more you know your cycle, then you know when things start changing a little bit. And I know some people have the coil, and so they say, but even those, the coils, some people do know when would be their time of having a period. And you do, it's about just getting in touch. And if you can start the younger you can to get in touch, and those who've got daughters, I would say, get in touch with what's going on in the body and start knowing your cycle. And you can even get apps now to your cycle, and even little things like that, and starting younger. And God, I never knew anything about this. If I'd only known years ago, and if I'd only known, I would have been following it so much better. And I just think you can start younger and know more about it, the better. And if you've got daughters, then I would definitely say, I've got a great book called The Period Repair Manual. And I tell all my friends with daughters, I don't know if you know, it's Lara Bryden. And I tell all my friends with daughters, it's a really useful book. And it's all about and I can never pronounce the word.
Endometriosis.
Yes, thank you. And PCOS, it's polycystic ovarian syndrome. Yeah. So it's things like that. And actually go to know, because it's so often misdiagnosed. So the younger you are, or you've got daughters, start at least sort of looking into these if they've constantly got the very heavy periods. And that book's such a good book, in that it tells you, it's very easy to understand. And it says about starting, from teenagers and very heavy periods. Actually, it's not proper periods for the first few years. And premenstrual, PMT, and how just little things like magnesium might help them and stuff like that. So if you can start younger to understand what's going on in the body, the better. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And the best moment is now. Even if you haven't managed to up until this point and you're older, still, this is a good time to start. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people at our age maybe do, because it's sort of more on our wavelength now as we're getting older, I think. Yeah. And you want to know, okay, I want to have a good last sort of, last third of my life or whatever. Let's make the most of it. Embrace it.
And on that note, I think that's a really lovely point on which to finish. So thank you so much again, Vicki, for being a wonderful guest and sharing such important messages that aren't so widespread, though they are, as you say, there's beginning to be more talked about now. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening today. And if you're watching on the replay, just stick in a hashtag replay. If you've got any questions that you'd like to ask myself or Vicki, just pop them in the comments below, and I'm sure one or other of us will get back to you. And if you'd be interested in learning more about what I was saying about the vocabulary of the body and learning about how you can feel your way from stress into flow, I have a workshop coming up. It's going to be on the first Sunday of July, which is actually the 4th of July. It's Independence Day. It's quite appropriate, I felt. So if you'd be interested in that, I will stick the link below, and you can click on that then to find out more details and buy tickets. So thank you again for tuning in, and I will be back next week with my next wonderful guest. So just keep an eye out in the group, and I'll let you know who that's going to be and when. Bye for now.